Hey Autumn Athletes, Larry Sorensen here, and I am on location with Suzie Franklin. We're going to find out what makes her an Autumn Athlete that's not done yet. Suzie, thanks so much for having us here. We're going to talk a little bit more about what's behind us shortly, but to start with, why don't you give us your bio basics?
I am 76. I just had a birthday, and I am a psychologist. I retired in 2020. I have a daughter who's 43. She's a big horsewoman. My husband and I have been married and living in this location for the last 30 years. We have a dog. Her name is Zena. She's naughty. I worked at Children's Hospital as a psychologist, and I had the pleasure of meeting all different kinds of people and families. I worked mostly with really young kids at the beginning of my career, and I ended up working with chronically ill children and their families. And I learned a lot of biofeedback, breathing techniques, relaxation techniques, which has certainly come to bear in my own experience.
So tell us a little bit about your fitness journey. How did it all begin?
My mother is the cause. It's her fault. She would laugh at that. She grew up on a farm. She knew that we were kind of soft, and so she enrolled my brothers and I in a competitive swim team, and she drove us all over Texas for swim meets. My brother was actually pretty good, and I had a lot of fun. So the fitness direction started there. In college, I did not competitive, but swimming. And then when I started graduate school, I started running. And I've been running and then doing weight training kinds of things since.
Where do you weight train at currently?
I train at CrossFit. And before that, I was at the Y, but it was, for me, not a social experience there. Everybody has their own things that they're busy doing, and at CrossFit, it was a group class, and people were nice and encouraging, and it has just been so much fun to meet people there and see what they're doing and be inspired by their strength and their dedication, and see what kinds of lives they're living.
Was there anybody or anything that inspired you along the way?
So women weight lifters have always caught my eye. Totally love the concept. A woman is strong, and Tina Hartwick, my trainer, particularly is astounding. She can do handstand push-ups, which I didn't even know was a thing. And then the other inspiration was my mother, who I also don't think spent much time considering what women typically do or women don't typically do. I think she just did it.
So did you have any setbacks along the way?
I did. So one thing just is getting into the mindset of, yeah, you're a woman, but you can weight train. It's okay. And then I got to where I really enjoyed it. I did have some knee problems, which kind of stopped the running for a while, but I swam instead. Then the knee things went away, and then when I got more into the weight training, I was more enthusiastic than was reasonable, and my right shoulder gives me aggravation now and then. But then I go see my physical therapist, who's beautiful and has blue eyes, and it's always fun to see him.
So tell us about any personal best achievements that you have.
This is, for me, great, and when I say it is going to be like, really, is that the best you could do? So when I was in my 40s, I was doing Al's run, which was the Children's Hospital run when Al McGuire was alive. And I did Al's run, which was 5 miles in 40 minutes. And that was truly the fastest time I've ever run in my life, before and after.
Well, that's a great time. 8-minute pace. That's nothing
Yeah,
to be.
it was really good for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are you currently training for now? Are there any specific events or goals, or what is it that keeps you going and keeps you training at this point?
I just finished a book by Peter Attia, and the essential focus that he has is that if you want to live long, then you're gonna wanna live healthy. As an example, he says that if you're 40 and you can lift 100 pounds, when you're 65, you'll be able to lift 50 pounds. And when you're 75, you'll be able to lift 30 pounds. And his concept is you better get strong now, because your muscle mass is going to decrease by god-awfully horrible percentages every year. And if you want to be a lively soul, you better get strong now.
Okay, so speaking of that, give us an idea of your current training regimen. What would a typical week be for you of activities of weight training, gardening, whatever other things you do to keep that strength going?
Okay, so Tina is my trainer, is very helpful, and I do 2 CrossFit classes, and then I do 1 training session with Tina, and I can't slough with Tina. The other ones, I don't try to slough, but let's put it this way, I start slowly. That's the weight training, and then in all of the things that I do in my yard, so I have an acre lot. My husband and I are the ones who do the work here.
So Suzie, tell us a little bit about your garden.
Okay, we can start with bee balm, which right here, well, they disappear pretty quickly, but it's just buzzing with bees. And you can crawl around on the ground in there and pull out weeds, and they don't care. They're just busy doing their bee thing. So that's one of my favorites, and it spreads on its own, and it grows by itself, so you don't have to do a lot of work. I have bird baths, because the birds are hungry, and they also are very gracious in that they poop out seeds and make new flowers for me in places that I never would have thought to put them. I move the mulch, and that's a lot of work. And I pride myself in the amount of work that it is. And it's pretty much from March, when you can actually stay outside for more than 20 minutes, I'm working in the yard. And then through October, I'm still working, cutting things down and getting things ready for the next year. So that can be an incredible amount of work. And then I will sometimes throw in some slogs, not a jog even anymore. I told one of my friends that I run and the walkers pass me by regularly.
That's okay, you're still moving. So what would you say is your favorite training exercise or physical activity?
My favorite thing to do is the CrossFit classes. I adore seeing my friends. I love hearing what they're doing and what they're up to. And then in the course of the workout, I can admire what things I can do, like a lunge where the knee actually touches the floor. And currently my big thing is hanging. I can hang from the bar without touching the ground, and that's awesome.
That is incredible. That's very tough exercise to do.
It's really disgustingly hard.
Yeah, in my experience with CrossFit gyms, that's one of the things, both men and women, being able to do hangs or pull-ups or anything to do with pulling their body weight up or holding their body weight is always a big challenge at first, and it's one of those great things to see when people finally succeed at doing it.
So I can do a scap pull-up. The rest, I have patience, let's say.
We talked a little about your physical activities, but as I think we all know, especially those of us that do perform physical activities, diet and nutrition is really key. So tell us a little bit about your approach to diet and nutrition.
Okay. I can recall as a child, we would go to visit my uncle and we would drive by the slaughterhouse. I could smell it and I would start sobbing. To be philosophically consistent with that, I have adopted a vegetarian, pescatarian position, and it's the right thing for me. What I can say about working on the protein intake, and I know CrossFit is like really strong on this, but the book that I was talking about, Peter Attia, is like super strong on protein intake. For people over 65, he emphasizes like 100 grams per day for an older person. And so my aim is that, and I have to say that since I've been focusing more on the protein intake, my hang lasts a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. I think it makes a difference. And basically his position is that you just aren't able to utilize the protein in the most efficient way once you get older, and so it's good advice.
For other folks that are considering maybe a vegetarian type lifestyle, what do you do to get that protein? What specific items do you focus on to get that level of protein?
Lentils are something that I really enjoy. I don't like the green ones, I like the red ones, and they cook really fast. So lentil loaf and lentil soup and all kinds of beans, pulses they're called. So I focus on that, and then cottage cheese and yogurt and milk, and so combinations thereof.
Okay.
And fish.
So do you have a cheat meal or dessert that you like to sneak in now and again?
I have a friend who has a rhubarb patch, and she gave me some, and so I now grow it, and I make the meanest rhubarb pie, and it's so evil. It's full of butter and sugar, and it's just divine.
What motivates you today to keep going and keep driving?
I read this article, and it was the 80s and 90s are the new 40s. So I read it, and she had some interesting points, but my direction is that I can still have all this fun and do all this stuff. I don't have to be planning for tomorrow I'm gonna be dead. You know, I might be, but in the meantime, what keeps me going is there's so many important, fun things to do. There's charity to be done. There's hats and mittens to be sewed. There's weeds to be pulled. There's friends to be seen. And it is my hope that the last day on earth, I'm doing those things, and then I peacefully and quietly slip off into the sunset.
You've obviously got yourself in a great position, physically, mentally, everything. You're doing really well. So what would you have done differently, if anything, throughout your life to change the course of your health and fitness?
I have chronic depression, and I didn't figure that out for the longest time. I would do differently going to see a therapist. I would do differently seeking active treatment instead of just turning my head away and not attending to the important business of my mental health. And since I have been able to do that, it has been an incredibly gratifying and broadening experience, leaving me open to friends and experiences that I would have just shut the door to before.
Tell us what your secret sauce to health and fitness is.
I would say really it is my friends and their models of fitness and enjoyment, and how the fitness is hand in hand with the enjoyment of their lives and therefore my life.
Well, Suzie, this has been great hearing from you and letting us know what makes you an automathlete that's not done yet. I want to close here by giving you the floor to just tell our audience anything you'd like to share with them.
One of my dear friends is a cancer psychologist, and in her research, she discovered the people who manage and cope the best are the people who say, all right, this is what I've been dealt. I am going to figure out how to handle it. They're not saying, oh, why me? They're saying, why not me? Let's get started with figuring out how to manage it.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Suzie Franklin, an automathlete that's definitely not done yet. Please like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, and we will see you next time.